when they feel the trust enough, then they can freely to show the optimism or their thinking. Yeah.
I love that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome everyone to Grow with Jen podcast, and we have Verity in the house, our world champion of public speaking 2021. Yes. And let's us start with some energy from our world champion. I would say that it's not about having that award, but it has been a journey that I learned from Verity by observing her daily sharing. And that is like continuous leadership, empowerment, positivity, and improvement. So let's know more about you.
I do have a long story, but I'll give you the short version of it. I was the child that had big dreams. I wanted to be an actress when I was growing up, and I wanted to go to Hollywood and become famous. And then by the time I was a teenager and I got the lead in my school play, all the girls in my class stopped liking me. And very quickly, at about 14 years old, I realized that if you stand out in life, you can get stood on. And I started to put a ceiling on what I believed was possible for myself. I became nervous of standing and speaking in front of people. I became incredibly shy. And I would even skip school if I had to read in the school assembly. So that was kind of my life story. If it had been up to me, I might have just carried on being in the background and in the shadows. But when I started studying psychology at the University of Cape Town, in the year I started studying, I also started songwriting. And suddenly I had this inspiration and these songs that I wanted to share with the world. But now I was afraid of being in front of people. So I had to, again, find the courage to face those fears. But I kept putting it off. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who've got big dreams and they're thinking, I'm going to do it, but I'll do it next year when I feel better, when I have more courage. And that's what I was doing. And in my case, it took my father dying very unexpectedly when I was 24. And I was suddenly became rudely awakened to the fact that life is short and we don't know how much time we've got. And if I was going to spend my life putting my dreams on hold, nothing was ever going to change. And that was when I started changing. I started singing. I got a coach to build my confidence up. I did all sorts of things and I stepped onto the stage of my life, really. And instead of becoming a world famous singer, I became very well known for the fact that I crowdfunded my first album. So I asked people to buy something I hadn't recorded. And it was 2005. So crowdfunding wasn't even a word then. Yeah. And suddenly I was being invited to speak all around South Africa. I was being invited to speak in Europe about how to think differently, how to change our thinking so we can change our results. And I was like, well, I'm trying to be a singer. Why do you want me to speak? But people are like, that's great that you sing, but you've done something different. Come show us how to do it as well. And so the last 15 years of my life, I let go of the singing aspirations, but I stayed on stage, helping people to change their thinking so that they can change their results. And last year, I got to do that at the ultimate level with the World Championships. And when I became the world champion, I spoke about write a different story if you're not enjoying how your life is going. You know, really, I truly believe that the only distance between you and where you want to be, you know, you might think it's a long way, but I want everyone who's watching this right now to consider that the only distance between you and where you want to be is that big. Now, that might not seem very far.
Is it like physically?
That big. Yeah, physically that big. So Jen, do it with me. Just hold up your fingers and just say out loud, this is the gap between me and my dreams.
Oh, yes, this is the gap between me and my dream. And actually, like the gap between you and me, because of the screen.
But if you don't believe me, all you need to do is this and go like that for me. This is the only gap we ever have to cross to face our fears, to follow our dreams, to believe in ourselves. So that is my story in a nutshell. I overcame a fear of public speaking. I got woken up the hard way because I lost someone I loved. And then I started crossing this divide, changing my mind, changing my thinking so that I could change my results.
Lovely. I think we can break it down into a lot of the episodes because you touch on a lot of keywords that I think people hear if they have a big dream or they want to have a big dream. And then when they identify that, they will see the big gap. But as you said, maybe that one can be changed to become this gap and put it in here. So maybe we go step by step with the topic of lead our life, or then we can lead other with optimism, because I can see that is one string connected the dots in your life. If people don't have that dream that they feel that it ignites their heart, what is that process for you to really identify, oh, singing? Can you dig a bit deeper? And then later on, you transform it to become speaking. And how did you somehow like rearrange yourself to see that they both align with your values?
What a beautiful question. So for me, it was an interesting life journey because I didn't choose singing. It chose me. It was my 20th birthday. I was sitting on a beautiful beach in Cape Town, South Africa, thinking about being 20 and what I wanted to do with my life. You know, so old at 20. And out of nowhere,
it's
I
like
felt
a mother, like grandmother, right?
yeah, I was like, oh, I'm old now. And I felt inspired to pick up a pen and start writing. And when I finished writing, it was a song. Now, I'd never written something like that before. I didn't know where it had come from. And it came at the exact moment that I was born. So it felt very prophetic. I was born at 4:15 in the afternoon. This was 4:15 in the afternoon. So whether it was my ego or my soul, but I felt like, oh, I've been chosen. Wow, you know, I'm meant to change the world. And I kept writing, and this dream built. It built inside me. So I didn't choose it. And as I say, it also came with my fear of being on stage. And it took a lot to face that fear. And one of the things that helped me was having a coach. I spoke about that earlier. You know, it doesn't matter how small or how big your dream is. Sometimes we need someone other than us to help us build our capabilities, to build our confidence, and to have the courage to take the next step. And my coach was a man named Joe in America. He was a fantastic singing coach. And he said to me at our first lesson, I'm not going to teach you how to sing, but I'm going to teach you how to be confident, because your confidence is going to be what takes you forward in your life, not actually just your talent. And that was a really interesting thing, that your confidence is often more important than your talent. You know, it's like talent can get better, but confidence, sometimes it gets broken in us. And if we don't have someone building that up in us, how do we move forward? And the way Joe, and I'm getting to how I moved to speaking now, but I think it's important that people understand this. Often it's confidence, this whole lack of confidence that's holding us back. And the way he taught me confidence was to make everything go wrong. He would turn up the music, turn down the music. He would shout at me when I was singing. I'd go, what is he doing? This is so strange. And he said to me, Verity, when things go wrong, you have to learn to just keep going. And I couldn't understand what he was teaching until years later, when I was singing professionally. Things would always go wrong. You know, suddenly a speaker would blow, or the audience would be talking, or the light would be flickering. And he had trained my brain to be okay with that. And so I realized that confidence in whatever you're trying to achieve in your life, confidence is being okay with things not being okay. Because if you're waiting for it to be perfect before you take that chance, before you get out your comfort zone, you're never going to take that step. But if someone can help you, or if you can realize that you are okay, even when things aren't okay, that's when everything gets easier. So that's what got me into the singing. And then when it changed, suddenly people were going, well, come speak, come tell us about crowdfunding, come tell us about thinking differently. Jen, that was hard. I was excited for the opportunity, but I would say to them, oh, can I bring my band? Can we do a show? And they'd say, no, we don't need you to sing. And my ego was horrified because my ego had this idea of what my life was meant to look like. I was trying to be a singer. I was meant to be a famous singer. That's what my life was going to look like. But life was showing up with a different opportunity. It was saying, please come and speak, come and inspire, come and help. And the topic we're talking on today, Lead with Optimism, came out of this time because I became very depressed. I got caught in a tug of war between my ego's idea of my life and my soul's idea of my life. And that was the lesson. The transition for me was when I started listening to my soul that was saying, I know you wanted to sing, but your songs were about inspiring people to live the best version of their life. You can also do that as a speaker. That was when I let go of that ego idea and I stepped into what my soul's calling was, and my life transformed. So I don't think it matters if your dream changes shape, if it's aligned with your values, if it's aligned with your purpose, why you get up in the morning. And for me, it's I want to inspire people about what's possible for them. I could sing about that. I could speak about that. I could run a course about that. As long as I'm doing that, I'm making my soul happy. So long answer, but I hope that took you on the journey.
It's beautiful. I really like touch on the ego and the soul later on, because it seemed to be like easy to get mixed or get confused by the sign of that. But what you said to us is like, what is the purpose and what is the meaning behind doing that thing? And that thing can be just a method. And the method can be changed, or as you said, the shape of the dream can look a bit different, but the purpose and the meaning behind it. So you identify the meaning of helping people from the day you took the pen up, or when was that? And how did you pick up that pen? Because I know your story made us remember so much, because you have that metaphor of pick up your pen and write your life story. So what was that moment? How did you pick up the pen and write it down? I would do it as my life mission.
I think the actual evolution of my purpose became apparent when I picked up my pen the first time and started writing a song. I was 20, so they were nice, cheesy lyrics, I'm not going to lie. But the chorus, and I never even turned it into a song, it always stayed as lyrics. But the chorus that I wrote in that first song was a message to me, I believe, to myself as a motto for life. And it went, you've got to live before you die. You can't fail unless you try. You can't fall unless you fly. You can't smile unless you cry. I can't remember. It was something like that, but it was telling me life was going to be a bit of everything. There was going to be failure and there was going to be success. There was going to be happiness and there was going to be sadness. And it was going to be this mixture. And those were the kind of songs I wrote. They were about life. They were about, we were in South Africa at the end of apartheid. Our country was coming together. We were trying to close where we'd been divided. We were trying to find unity. So I was writing about that. And within that, I was like, this is my passion. Humanity is my passion. Seeing what connects us, not what divides us. That's what I wanted to sing about. And so it just became very clear that that's what lights up my soul. And I suddenly discovered I could do that as a speaker as well. And in fact, reach more people in a more significant way. So it was quite incredible how it evolved. But a lot of it didn't have anything to do with me. Life just kept saying, do this. And I just kept saying yes.
Yeah, lovely. And you mentioned on the habits that we try to make it practical, that actually writing and reflecting back on our thoughts is certainly something that we can do after listening to you today. And I really also feel related, because the moment I started writing, thanks to my sister, who I didn't really like when I was a kid, but when I read something she wrote, by accident, I changed how I look at her, and I said, wow, writing can make me change my naughtiness on my sister and change to become love. So I said, probably a piece of writing can change somebody's life and my life. So I started writing without even meaning, but it has been helping me a lot on learning
Wow.
about also what I want to do in life. So I think when people write down and reflect, as you said, they may not distinguish between the side of the soul and the ego, right? So can you dig a bit deeper? How do you like identify it, or how can we do it? Because it's very kind of sometimes mixing.
So I think it's a hard one to nail down, but if I have to, and when I talk about ego, I can only really connect with my experience of my ego. But if I look at where my ego shows up in my life, it wants success, it wants pretty shiny things, it believes my life should look a certain way, like I should be over there, you know. And this was what my world champion speech was about: happily married, children, a big house, a great career, thin, whatever you want to put in there that your ego thinks is success. That's what our ego shows up and does for us. And we live in a world where every single product that's being advertised is being advertised to our ego. And then if we don't have it, that's when we start feeling unhappy. And that was my experience. Is I was so obsessed with being there where I believed my life would look good and then I would be happy, that I was miserable here where I was. And this is for most of us, when you get into the positive psychology and the science behind happiness, what they've seen now in research is that only 10% of your happiness comes from those external circumstances. Only 10%. The car you drive, the money you have, the house you live in, the person you're married to, what you look like, how many magazine covers you've been on, how many Oscars you've won. And if you don't believe me, you can go to Hollywood and you can see these people who've got everything, and then you can read about how they're struggling. So our ego tells us, if I have that, then I'll be happy. Our soul is going, look at the people around you, feel the joy of the sun on your skin, you know, have that hug that lasts a few minutes longer, say thank you, be kind, because our souls know that that is actually what drives our happiness, because 40% of your happiness comes from the choices you make on a daily basis. And I think if we leave it up to our ego, it's going to be wanting to make choices to chase the money, the fame, whatever we've decided is success. But if we listen to our souls, then it helps us to make choices like kindness, looking after ourselves, eating well, spending time with people we love. And these sound like really small things, but it's 40% of our long-term happiness comes from those choices. So look at what your soul is trying to tell you. It's that part of you that goes, oh, yes, oh, I love that. And then listen. Not, you should do this because it's the right thing. It's just like, I want to do this. I could do this. I'm a little bit afraid because my ego doesn't want to fail. But I know if I do this, I'm going to grow. I'm going to stretch. So I'm going to choose that instead of that.
Wow, beautiful. So it's like, it seemed to be that so saying it's like making the long-term impact, but it doesn't really give us the right away effect or society standard. Yeah, so it's more like we had to live in that moment every day, accumulate a little bit and compound effect, and it come together. So we're talking about the soul and ego and the choices. So you said about 10% coming from the external one, 40% from the daily choices. What else making us
50% of our happiness, our long-term sense of well-being comes from our genetics. So some of us, I come from a family, my mom suffered from depression. She was an alcoholic. She was an incredible woman, but I have that in me. So I have suffered from depression in my life, anxiety. My dad was very optimistic. So that's why I've got like a good combination of genes. But in the same way, you might have diabetes in your genetics. You can't control that, but you can control how much sugar you eat. You can control how much you exercise. And so that's where happiness becomes a habit. It's not this thing that you're waiting to happen and putting over there. And I know it's also quite a Western idea that we've created this model for success and happiness that tells us if you're successful, then you'll be happy. And you know, these are all the movies, this is what we're watching. But when you get successful, then you get happy. And all that happens is when you have success, you buy the house, you then go, oh no, they've got a bigger house. Now I need to get a bigger house. And if you put happiness on the other side of that, we're never going to get there.
Yeah.
So what science is showing, and what my personal experience of turning depression around in my life, was that if I got happy here, if I was grateful here, if I made kind choices here, that gave me the energy that started getting me some of the material things. You know, I sit here with some nice looking trophies. But when I was chasing this last year, and I worked hard and my ego was involved, but my soul luckily was more involved.
Yeah.
I realized my ego wanted the trophy, but my soul wanted how much the contest was going to make me grow.
Yeah.
Because you can lose this can go away, but no one can take away how much I grew through competing. And when I realized that, and I kept choosing the growth, going, it'll be great if I get a trophy, because that'll prove that, you know, I achieved what I wanted to achieve, but I'm here for the growth. It changed the experience.
Beautiful. So the goal is not the goal, but the goal is the measurement of the growth and actually the impact that you have made, because that trophy opens up a lot of doors for you to make impact and we get to know you. So I think that's important of the soul to overweight the voice of maybe no trophy, but keep you going on that. So thanks for that. And you mentioned on the choices and the external factor. So we also go back a little bit. We had dream and we identify whether it comes from the soul or from the ego. And you mentioned about the turning point in your life when you lost your loved one. Sorry for hearing that loss, because your father is very important to you. So how can a person who does not have that loss of their loved one or some kind of physical accident to brand themselves, or let's say have some kind of habits to make them gear back or reignite themselves to make that turn?
Yeah, so I remember after losing my dad, I remember saying it took pain to wake me up. It shouldn't take pain to keep me awake. And as humans, we have this, it's a design flaw where we do wait for the loss or the heartbreak or the health crisis to change. You know, we look at how the world changed in lockdown. There was things that we'd been asking to change. We were forced to change, but why didn't we change them before it was a crisis? So I think there's a few things, and I work with a lot of businesses and teams helping them with their strategy, which is about designing the future. And so it's a matter of going, we don't have to wait for a crisis, but we can find a thinking partner. We can work with a team to go, what excites us? What is it that where we want to go that is more exciting than where we currently are? Because if we don't have something exciting, and that's why you do have to have goals, but if you don't have something exciting to go to, you'll just stay here. And so that's why even when someone decides to go, I'm going to sign up for my first half marathon, and they've never run before, what does that do? That makes them embrace the discomfort of getting fit. And they find friends that are going to help them, and they start training. But if they hadn't signed up for the half marathon, they might not have done any exercise. So I think even if you don't have that big, clear goal and dream, it's to just go, a year from now, what would I love to have done? What would have really filled my soul with joy? And let me put those down as goals, and then go, okay, if I want to get there, what are the choices I have to make here to start moving in that direction? And that can ignite us. And then we don't have to wait for pain. And that, you know, so I think, like, if you're afraid of public speaking, go join Toastmasters and start learning how to speak. But put yourself in a place where people are becoming more, and there you might have bigger dreams that get ignited. And then you're not waiting for the crisis for you to make the change. So it's a challenging one, because if we leave it up to human nature, we'll wait for the crisis.
Yeah, it is. And I was in that moment where I actually very healthy in a way, but I had a disease that I had to do the treatment before, but I didn't, I kind of like, underestimated that. And when it hit me recently, it's like you said, all the other things we could do well, but one area, especially health, we don't need to wait until that moment. We can envision and create that compelling vision of the future, right? So we can like be pulled by that. So we had the dream, we identify, listen to the soul voice, and we also know that we don't need to wait until something happens, but we can create it by creating that compelling vision. And having somebody you mentioned, on coach or a team or community. So we're moving a little bit forward. It seems like things happening quite well for you now. And how can you define that next level? Like, because you are in the top, I think like very few people in the world. And when we are at that top level, I know that as you continue going to the next level, but it's also easy for people to kind of like be okay with that. So what is that process for you for the next level?
So it was quite interesting, Jen. I think the big realization I got last year when I won the world's trophy as the world's champion of public speaking, and it was incredible that it happened because no one had ever won from Africa. Yeah. And only 5 other women before me had won in 80 years. So it was a really big thing, and it opened up a lot of doors. But I also learned that when you achieve something, everyone gets 15 minutes of fame. And I think all achievements get 15 minutes of fame. And then it's over because someone else has done something amazing and everyone's talking about that. Then the responsibility comes back to you going, what am I going to do with this? Because all that big success gives you is a slightly bigger stage, gives you a slightly bigger stage, but you still got to step on it. You've still got to bring your passion and your purpose. And so there was a few things. The one was, and I did a post about this recently, I was watching people surfing. We have a lot of surf here in Cape Town. And I was watching this young man. He caught the perfect wave and he was surfing so beautifully towards the shore, and the wave was not going to win. He was winning that wave. He didn't fall off. And at some point, it was actually going to run out and he was going to hit the rocks. And I watched him choose to fall into the water, finish this incredibly successful ride, and then paddle back out to the back with everyone else and wait for the next wave. And that's what I realized my win with the World Championship was. It gave me a year as the current world champion. I got to ride that wave. And we've just had our new world champion come in, Cyril Jr. Dim, which was amazing. And I was like, and now I dip back in, I paddle back out to the back, and I go, what's the next wave that's coming? And my job is to be ready. My job is to be fit. It's to know what my topics are I'm passionate about. It's to serve where I can serve. But the work doesn't stop. So that's why this illusion that success over there means everything's perfect. It's like, no, you get there, you enjoy the view, you keep walking, you keep surfing, you keep swimming, whatever it is, but you never arrive. And I think if we get that, we must stop looking at people that are successful and go, oh, if I can just get there. It's like they are also going, I need to get there. Like it doesn't ever stop.
Yeah. So what is the there for you? I know that you remind us that it's very important to have the goal, but really appreciate where we are now and ready for what we can do more. So what is the next for you? Can you open a little bit? Last time I interviewed Ramona, you will remember her?
Oh, yes.
And she was talking about she could do a movie. Wow, that's interesting. So can you review a little bit?
For me, it's to continue doing what I'm doing. I would love to do a few more international speaking engagements. I would love to see more of the world through my work and touch a wider audience in the world as a speaker. That would be what I would love. I am a new mother. I have a 3-year-old, so it limits what I can do. But so my there is quite small because my family is so important right now. We've just bought a house. We've got goals around making it beautiful and doing that as a family. And then within that, I want to touch lives. I want to share, you know, how people can change their thinking to change their results. So I'm looking for opportunities to speak on big international stages to big audiences because it's a privilege. And, you know, I'm working on a second book. I'm working on quite an interesting podcast that I'm going to be doing on spare room stories, asking other people that have lived in spare rooms when their lives weren't going well and how that helped to build their success. Because I know I'm not the only person who's lived in a spare bedroom when life was down.
Yeah.
So I've got some ideas, but it's when I say my there is small, I would say right now in my life, my there is here, to be with my family, to be in my beautiful, you know, world, and then letting my life flow. So I do feel like I'm on those waves, and you just, oh, here comes one, I'll catch it. But I'm not trying to make the ocean make the waves. Like the ocean makes the waves when it's ready. So
Oh yeah, and I think it has been why I felt that soul and that beauty from inside you, and I think it makes the fulfillment when somebody can be fulfilled from inside, and as big it comes to outside, the opportunities get bigger, and we love in Vietnam to welcome you physically, and I know that the topic today lead to with optimism, and you are a mother, you are a speaker, you are a leader, and you influencer, and we know that the topic, maybe you have some ideas behind it. I have a question from the audience. Lead with optimism. The optimistic thinking, sometimes some people underestimate because they think like, for example, the team is sad and you cannot use that optimism. You need to be empathized a bit. So can you kind of distinguish how, what does that look like to lead with optimism, but still having that empathy for the situation with the person in the down moment or in the bad moment?
beautiful. So I think we often get thrown by this word optimism, and we believe that it's, you just have to be positive and happy all the time, which if a team is struggling is not going to work as a leader. So I'm so glad someone's asked that question. If someone is overly optimistic in difficult circumstances, that can become known as toxic optimism. It's very hard for people to be around. It's exhausting. It feels like, can't you see what we're struggling with? It's going to be fine, you know. So I'm not talking about that. So when I talk about leading with optimism, I just want to maybe give a few reasons why optimism matters, just to help us understand it. And then we can look at what do we do, especially when times are tough. When people lead from an optimistic mindset, and this is research that has been done over 20 years, the kind of results they see if someone's brain is operating at positive rather than negative, neutral, or stressed, what we see is they are 31% more productive, 37% better at sales, 23% less stressed, 40% more likely to be promoted and live longer. I mean, the numbers go on, but we start to see that when we are in that sense of well-being, that openness, that flow, we get better results. So that's what the research shows as to saying why there's a science behind happiness, why we need to lead with optimism, because optimistic leaders get more productivity out of their teams. They build trust, loyalty. People want to stay in those businesses versus negative or difficult leaders. That said, if your team is stressed, it's not about coming in and saying, come on, let's all be happy. It's maybe saying, let's all sit and share what we're dealing with. And then let's maybe do the next round. Let's all talk about what are we grateful for? What one thing has worked this week? You know, is there someone in the team you want to thank? You know, I know we're struggling. Is there someone else we can maybe go and help? Now, those are choices that have been shown over time to raise our sense of well-being, kindness, gratitude, being in good social connections. So as a leader, if you're creating a space for your people to talk, to connect, to have meaningful interactions, you're going to be boosting how they feel. In fact, there's been a bit of research that's come back saying that if someone wants to boost their enjoyment of their job by 700%, so this is a big number. If you want to boost your enjoyment of work by 700%, you only need to do one thing, and that is have one good friend at work. One good friend, one person that you're looking forward to see when you get to work and have a quick cup of coffee or share lunch with, even if work is stressful, even if there's lots of things coming at you, just that one clear, significant social connection can boost your enjoyment of your job by 700%.
Wow.
So as leaders, we have to make sure that our staff are building friendships. Over and above building, you know, our profits and our productivity, actually build their connection, and you will see they are more productive. So that's what I'm talking about when I say lead with optimism. It's create connection, create meaning, kindness, gratitude, mindfulness, all these small things that if we are bringing that into our space, we are positively influencing the world around us.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah, I really want to touch on the point of having a friend, or there's a book called like Raising Necessity, having somebody that it makes you feel that you want to be in the A game, or in this case can be somebody that you feel that you want to go there. Yeah, and that comes back to the lead with optimism. Is more like the frequency that we operate in, and it's like a culture and the spirit of the team. And you just keep talking about kindness and gratitude. So I just think like we cannot say thanks to you enough. And we have a question like, what would be that habits that you build for having that love and compassion and kindness and gratitude become a part of your life? Because before that it was not in that stage. Yeah.
So there's a happiness challenge that I actually run for people, and if anyone, I can give you the link and you can
Lovely.
share it if anyone wants to do it. It's a 21-day challenge. It's the idea is not my idea. I heard it on a TED talk with Shauna Kaur, but I was so inspired that I created an email program to help people do this. And there are 5 daily habits that if you do them for 21 days in a row will boost your sense of well-being, your optimism, and your happiness for a minimum of 3, if not 6 months. Okay, so it's 5 simple things, and you can do them for a couple of minutes every day, so it doesn't take a lot of time. And those 5 habits that make the biggest difference for our optimism levels: exercise, daily exercise, something you enjoy. So even if it's just dancing around the living room to a song, get your blood flowing, but it needs to be something you enjoy. Do it with a friend. Now you're getting that connection. Social connections, one of the biggest predictors of long-term success and happiness. So a little bit of exercise, a little bit of mindfulness, whether it's doing yoga or a mindfulness meditation, or just connecting with your cup of tea or coffee in the morning and feeling it, being present, breathing, being in the moment. But it calms down your nervous system, and that allows you to deal with stress a lot better. So exercise, mindfulness. Now I'm losing track. I think, yeah. So exercise, mindfulness, then journaling. So this asks that you journal one thing a day, one happy thing that's happened in your day, but you need to write it down. In fact, create a WhatsApp group with friends, because then someone will say, oh, you won't believe this cool thing that happened today, and they'll share it. And then that will make you go, oh, yes, I had a wonderful experience. This trains your brain to relive positive experiences. You get all the positive hormones again, and it makes you feel good. 4th thing, I kept talking about kindness, random acts of kindness. So this asks once a day, you reach out to one person in your social network, send them an email or a WhatsApp of appreciation, buy the person behind you in the supermarket, you know, pay for their groceries or a cup of coffee, do something kind. Now, the beautiful thing with kindness is when people witness someone being kind, they are 10 times more likely to be kind. And when someone experiences kindness, they're also 10 times more likely to be kind. So now you start positively impacting your entire community. So that's the 4th one. 5th one, daily gratitude. Write down 3 things you're grateful for every day for 21 days. You will feel better about your life. Trust me, you'll suddenly go, look at what I have. Look at what's here. And you will be grateful for what's here instead of worrying about what you need over there. And so those are the 5 habits: exercise, mindfulness, daily journaling, daily kindness, and daily gratitude for 21 days. I will send you the link, Jen. You can share it with your community. They can sign up for free for my 21-day program. Try it. Let me know how it works.
Yes, lovely. I just think like it is really something will work when we commit to that, because as you mentioned on a lot of research and yourself has been doing it, and a lot of others high performers and successful people, and myself, I just see like anytime in life I don't practice on the gratitude and kindness, I can see the level of fulfillment go somewhere. And yeah, I know that the Verity gonna go in the meeting in around 8 minutes. So we have the 5 habits and the link to touch into the resources of you. I like to break it down in the game, a very small game, to have some practical takeaway. Apart from our rhythm of your sharing, the takeaway is will be related to something that people can read, can listen, can go to check out. So we have 5 habits. That's great. And let's talk about what would be the one book that someone to check out on the topic of list with optimism. And I would like you to choose your book to talk a little bit about it and recommend another one. Yeah.
So the other one I'll recommend is The Happiness Advantage by Sean Acor. But just
Okay.
Google The Happiness Advantage. And my passion for this topic came from his TED Talk, reading his book. I then went on to study positive psychology through Berkeley University, an online program, which I just loved. So check out The Happiness Advantage. I still have to work on my book around leading with optimism. My current book that people can buy on my website is on presenting with power. So that's how we communicate and how we deliver fantastic speeches. Again, that speaks back to where we started with confidence. And I think when you can learn to present your ideas, to speak with conviction, to share your passion and purpose with the world, that's what opens up opportunities for you to get to whatever that there is, that, you know, those goals that you have. But our ability to communicate really helps. And I think if you combine my book with Sean Acor's Happiness Advantage, you will be communicating beautifully.
Yeah, confidence and happiness. Yeah. So the next one would be, who is the person that we should actually check out to learn from that vibe? I know that today we have you, and keep in touch with Verity on LinkedIn and Facebook and her website. But apart from that, if we want to get the vibe from the person you get the vibe from, who would be that person?
So it's still Sean Acor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sean today
so
gonna have some ting ting.
yeah. So go look at his TED Talk. It's The Wisdom of Play and The Happiness Advantage. If you Google Happiness Advantage, you will open up a world of inspiration. He's been interviewed by Oprah. He is absolutely amazing, and definitely will, you know, we've barely touched on the surface of this topic today. It will definitely help people and give you some added inspiration to keep making those choices that make the difference.
Yeah, lovely. So we don't need to feel overwhelmed because we have reading and checking out the person somewhat related. So what would be the one uncomfortable thing that we should be comfortable to do today? And if you can share yours, then we can get the inspiration.
Wow, the one uncomfortable thing that we should be comfortable to do today. I love that. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Well, the only thing that's coming to me, I find selling my business and myself quite uncomfortable. But actually, it's every time I take that chance and I reach out and I email someone and I say, can we have coffee? You know, I want to chat to you about what I do. It's uncomfortable, but it stretches me. And I know that in the stretch is the growth. So those are my uncomfortable things. And I've done 3 of those emails today. So I'm already quite proud of myself, because often I'll put it off and go, oh, I don't want to do it. But the only way you're going to share your truth and your value with the world is sometimes you've also got to put yourself out there and do that uncomfortable thing.
Yeah. So could you sell some things to us today?
Well,
I think you have your book, you have your 21 day, and I think you have some programs. So what would be the one that we should really check out if somebody looking to develop their confidence and their leadership, and maybe that could be the journey they start when they later on can check out your next books or your next seminars or programs?
Oh, I can definitely offer up my coaching services for people who are wanting to work on powerful presentations, whether it's, you know, professionally, or maybe, I know if there's Toastmasters watching, there's competitions, but I help people and I coach people to deliver powerful presentations. But I also do have a Lead with Optimism course that will be starting in February of next year. So again, I'll give you the link, Jen, and you can put it and people can sign up. It's online. It's 4 sessions, 90 minutes each. We unpack the importance of our mindset, the impact of stress, the science behind happiness, and then we deep dive into the habits for happiness so that they can really implement them in the 21-day challenge. So that's a lovely offering that I would love to have people from around the world doing with me. If we can activate optimism everywhere, that would be amazing.
Yeah, the very rest of optimism. Thank you, and thank you for bringing it here today. Even it online, I feel it as you're in front of me, and I love to hug you in person. And thanks to your beautiful family, because I can feel the vibe also from them even online. Miss Khánh, chị Khánh wanna say gratitude as our ending today, and open up for maybe very new soon catching up with Verity on her next wave.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your lovely sharing about your story, and also all of the tips and the program of 21 days transforming to gain optimism and also transforming life. Just one question when I'm listening to the whole story. I'm curious about your singing.
How can we check out your albums? Oh, that's fun.
So I forgot about that. My albums are available on my website. You can download it. It comes as little MP3s. But my album Journey is available on iTunes and Spotify and Deezer and Amazon. So if you Google Verity Journey, the title was Journey, you can find it there. Or you can go onto my website and you will receive the MP3s from me as direct emails when you buy the albums.
Wow, lovely.
Great.
So all in one. And thank you for the beautiful singer, speaker, mother, influencers. I am Jen. It is Verity, or you can check out I am Verity. I love that, and I love that you, after watching her, you can say I am me with your name on it, and being the beautiful soul as Verity is. And thank you for being here with us today with 100%, 1000% of your soul, and looking forward to your next wave. All the best.
Let's ride them. Thank you. My next one will be in Vietnam.
Oh, please.